everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color. I'm Jed Toffer. Thanks for listening. You know, my wife Vicki and I have owned and operated our photography studio, V Gallery, for 20 years now. White House has been our lab for the last 16 of those years, and we could not be happier. White House is a family-run business, just like ours. If you haven't already, check them out at whcc.com. And if you want to drop me a line, feel free to email me at jed@whcc.com. Well, 2020 is upon us. And as usual, many of us take on the proverbial self-reflections that come with a new year. I generally focus on health resolutions, physical, mental, spiritual, etc. I don't always succeed, but I'm not giving up either. It's a new year and a new decade. Let's jump right in by setting goals and making a plan to accomplish them. Take your health to the next level. Take your business to the next level. Take your life to the next level. You can do it. This episode of this conversation features an interview with Zach Daniels. Zach is a pastor, a content creator, and a disruptor of systems. He has a passion for gear and for people. He drops a lot of insightful little nuggets. He gives some great advice, and he cracks me up the entire time. Have fun with this one and use it to fire you up for the decade that stands before us. Let's make it a great one, friends. Tell me who you are, where you're from, what you do, and a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Zach Daniels. I am from a little town in eastern Kentucky called Ashland. If you look on a map, it's where Huntington, West Virginia, Ironton, Ohio, and Ashland, Kentucky, all three come together. So where Ohio, West Virginia, and Kentucky, those three states converge along the Ohio River. That is where I'm from. Small little town, Bible Belt town. Grew up in the church world. I myself am a pastor now of a independent church that my family actually started about 2.5 years ago. And so that's what I do full time. But I've been a creative, doing photography, video for a long time. My dad is a Canon rep and actually deals with like the printers and the bigger end Canon machinery that you find in office spaces. And I remember him when the first Digital Rebel came out, you know, like, I don't know, it was in like middle school or high school. Like, right. He brought one home and was like, "Here you go, son. Learn how to be a photographer."
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. And so I had the original Digital Rebel, and like in high school, just started learning how to take pictures and enjoyed that. Now I never pursued it. I still don't right now. I still don't really pursue that. Later in life, though, through college and my first job working for a church, out of necessity, we needed some videos produced, and I had a little DSLR Canon and upgraded Rebel at the time and learned how to shoot video. And that kind of opened the door for me to eventually become a creative arts pastor at a church. So I built an entire media team. I'm a gear junkie, so yeah. I'm the guy that I'm always watching the YouTube videos and knowing all the little details about it. Or I see somebody with a camera in their hands and I always want to strike up a conversation about what they're using because I've probably watched 17 videos about it or read some articles about it. And so, I love that stuff. I currently do some video content as a kind of a side gig. Yeah. Over the last about 9 months, it's gone from being just kind of a part-time hobby to actually a very lucrative side income. But more importantly, it's given me that creative space outside of pastoring a church, outside of ministry, that now I obviously get to be creative in that space, but it gives me the opportunity to get out and really just do something that has nothing to do with the church. Everything, is not totally focused on that. I'm if I'm filming a couple that's, getting married or getting engaged, even just a quick engagement film or something like that, it's just, hey, I get to go out and just have fun, be creative, and explore.
You're diversifying.
Yeah. It started. I kind of fell back into this. I'd been out of doing any kind of video, photography, or any of that kind of creative visual content for a long time, and I had done some stuff for the church, getting back into the church world, and I had a guy sitting in a service, one of our first services we had, sitting there, and he saw a video opener piece. and he asked about it. He's like, hey, where'd that come from? I was like, well, I shot it and put that together.
You did,
yeah. And he said, I'm running for this elected position in our town.
Yeah.
He said the election's in like a year away. It was like the November of the previous year before he was running. And he said, I'm running for this position. It's a big deal. And I want to do some epic content. And I looked at him and I said, well, you want some video stuff like political campaign? And I said, yeah. I said, do you want to make cute videos? Or you want to win an election? And he said, I want to win an election. I said, well, here's what it's going to cost you. And, because when I researched and learned that political candidates, they have to use that money that's a part of their campaign or they give it away.
Right.
So if you're listening to this right now, you start hitting up all those little political candidates because they've got stockpiles of money. They got to spend it or they have to donate it.
Right.
And so let them spend it on you and you charge them a premium.
Right.
And that's what I did in this case. Me and this guy became friends. But even through that, he still paid me every time. He wouldn't let it go unnoticed. And so we produced some content through the next year. Several other local political candidates, some state representatives and some of those folks saw the content, saw the feedback we were getting on Facebook, as we were getting 10,000-15,000 likes on videos in a small little town for a small town race, leading the local government type of thing, and it just ended up really blowing up and turning into one candidate into like 5 political candidates. And at the end of the day, 3 of those 5 got elected.
Oh,
the 2 that didn't, they did too little, too late.
Yeah.
And they didn't. But 3 of those got elected, and that kind of got my name out front there in our town with doing some video content. And then the first guy I got elected, he came to me and said, "Hey, we got this idea to do some content that features our community." And what they're doing here is super interesting. So small town business. We've got, I guess you got a lot of photographers listening to this.
I think so.
All right. So imagine you're a local photographer in your town, and you've got a little shop, little studio. Then what has happened is we've created this space in our county through our county leadership from the top down, the county commissioners, the judge executive, who the guy I worked with who got elected. He's basically the mayor of the county. They pulled me aside and said, we want to pay you to go in to these small little local businesses, let's do like one a week, go in here and do like a vlog style talking head with epic B-roll, and put these pieces out, and it's not going to cost the business anything. We're going to pick up the tab for that, and then we're going to blast it on all of our sites, and so it's going to be free promotion. Well, so we had this concept to try this, and one of the commissioners came to me and said, hey, there's a little pizza place that's in this old like rundown mall space that we have. It's just a giant eyesore in our community, and we've got this mall, and there's a little pizza place right in the front door in the little food court, the only thing there. And this little pizza spot, they deliver, and they have great food, and most people don't even realize they're there.
Right.
And they're thinking they're going to have to close their doors the next few months if something doesn't break. And so this commissioner came to me and said, won't you do theirs first? Why don't you go shoot a video about them? And I went to this old dilapidated mall, and I had some fun, and we did vlog style. I talked on camera, showed some epic B-roll of their kitchen, put it out there. And you know what ended up happening? That video ended up getting 10,000 views, and the comments alone were, I didn't know this place existed. Oh, that's right across the street from my house. Oh, that's there. Oh, they do delivery. And I went back to that business 3 months later, and the little lady who owned it with tears in her eyes looked at me and said, you all saved this business. Yeah. She said, it turned it upside down. She said, we've had to hire more people for the kitchen, more delivery drivers. We're looking at expanding. She said it turned it upside down. And so we saw this, and we saw a need that was there that nobody even knew existed.
Right.
And so we basically brought really high-end content, really well-produced content that would not be accessible. I'm really expensive. My day rate is a lot, but through this, I'm able to go in, work with a small business, spend 2 hours with them, and do a business profile and feature this company. And the local government is picking up the tab. So if you're listening to this, use the local government.
It sounds to me like, though, you're right in the midst, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're kind of in the middle of this hobby turning into something that can legitimately bring in revenue for you, right?
I mean, this is the first year we're doing it, and I mean, Jed, the interesting thing about this is this extra revenue that's coming in has already surpassed my salary for the year.
You're a pastor. Pastors don't make billions of dollars.
No, I am not a preachers and sneakers kind of guy. These shoes, they look good. They crispy, right? $40 at the Marshalls, all right?
You got the Marshalls.
I'm wearing some Adidas for you listeners out there. They were $40 at the Marshalls. And that's usually the top end of what I spend on my sneakers.
But it's so you're, because of that, I would imagine that now it's you're seeing that it's worth your time to spend more time doing this. How do you handle the balance between the two? Because, for the longest time you're a pastor, essentially, that was a gearhead that was into all this stuff. You had access to a digital camera early on. All of that makes sense, but now that's turning into something more. Yeah. It's turning into something substantial. Yeah. It's turning into something that's worth your time.
Yeah.
How do you handle the not? Well, we're outside right now, and that's the popo.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful right
now. Yeah, I should say that we are at Yosemite in California at Apex 2019.
That's right.
And we decided to do this outside because to do it inside here would probably be sacrilege. You would know more about that than me, of course, but I would consider it sacrilege. There might be a scripture you could point to for me at some point to prove that.
Deuteronomy 23:1.
There it is. Look it up. But
just let me back it up.
I don't know what that is. We'd have to look up Deuteronomy 23:1 and see what that is.
Can I say it on the podcast? It's scripture. It says, let he who, this is the paraphrase version, let he who has been crushed in the stones not enter the assembly.
That's so good.
Listen.
This is the old
Just
law.
remember that. Listen, the old Deuteronomy stuff. It's like, what?
Oh my gosh.
What?
You're making me cry right now.
But that's the one verse, Deuteronomy 23:1.
It was. I thought you were just throwing out numbers, but you're a pastor. I should have known better.
Like when I worked for a big church, and we would all sign a card for somebody to get well. Yeah. And, believing in something great for you or whatever, and everybody put Psalms 17:4. I'd always do Deuteronomy 23:1 because they're not gonna look it up.
No, they just. He wrote it.
So good.
He wrote a scripture.
So good.
It's probably just a great verse.
It's so good. Deuteronomy 23:1. Just throw that out there.
Okay, I gotta collect myself here. What? So this part is really interesting to me in that you're in the. I feel like you're in this transitional period, but there must be something, at least in the back of your mind, that says I can't become too thinly stretched, so to speak, right? Because you have an important job at the very least. It might not be a very high paying job, but that has nothing to do with its importance. That you're a leader and a pastor of this church, and now you have this gig over here that's kind of turning into something bigger, right?
Very much so.
How do you handle the balance between the two?
I have this conversation with my wife. I've been booking weddings, through some of this, if you're looking to make money on photography and video, as long as you can shoot in something outside of auto mode, please feel free to go book a wedding. I saw a person in our town who is promoting video right now, and I saw a screen grab of the back of their camera, and it was just that green Canon A plus on there, and I'm like, it made me die a little bit on the inside. Yeah, just cringing at what they were doing. So I'm shooting weddings. I'm doing some of that, but that's probably the part that I'm going to have to dial back the most. And I'm not doing a ton. I mean, I'm doing 6
weekends are kind of a big deal for you.
Weekends are a big deal. And so the Saturday, eating at my Saturdays is kind of the problem. And I don't want to lose my Saturdays. And my wife has expressed concern for me eating up my Saturdays because Sunday is a big day. That's church day. Yeah. And so if I'm working on other things during the week and then Saturday is the only day,
right,
I really have to do nothing, and I'm going to put a 12-hour day in shooting somebody's wedding.
Right.
That could be a little bit of a problem. And so,
you got kiddos.
I got a kiddo. I got a new little boy. He's about 8 months old.
Baby, right.
Yeah, he's a little dude. And so that time's important. And you can't get it back.
Right.
I've got a photographer friend of mine who she's got a studio, and she does wonderful, wonderful work. I keep on her case to use lights more, and get outside. I was like, use some lights outside. It's okay. It's safe. And she does a great job. But I had a conversation with her recently, and she goes, I'm charging just crazy prices for wedding clients for photography. She said because I don't want to give up my Saturdays. And she's got a 3-year-old.
So if she does it, she's making it very worth it.
She's making it very worth it.
Financially.
It's like, well, we're going to take the family to Disney World off this one wedding, and you're going to pay for it.
Right.
I'll do it. But she has put a higher value on her Saturday.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm looking at right now is the balance. Let me give you a peek behind the curtain of the church world, all right? And there might be some people that disagree with this, but I was a worship pastor for a long time. And if you're listening to this and you are a worship pastor, you have a worship pastor at your church, and you're paying him full time to plan your weekend set, it does not take 40 hours for the Holy Spirit to download the 4 songs I'm going to lead this week. It does not take 40 hours for him to prepare my heart. Because you can walk in on Monday. I can walk in on Monday morning, 9 a.m., and be like, all right, Lord, what are we singing this week? And by 11:30, I'm ready to go to Chipotle, and my set's done for the weekend, right?
If you have like a 14-minute slot to fill, can't you just play Oceans once?
There's just one time. One time. Well, sing it again.
Just extend the end. You know, isn't that what they do? They just extend
Sing the whole thing. Your boy in the back yelling at you. Just extend it. Just feel it.
I'm sorry. I respect all of that, so I feel terrible laughing.
No, but it's true.
But you're the man that's been there.
Yeah. So back to what I'm saying. There's a lot more time in that. I'm pastoring a small church. We're not huge. Mm-hmm. Like, we had. I think we had 275 on Easter. We run about half that,
but
on a good day.
But you know what, though? Let me ask you this. In that vein. Whether you have, 10,000 people sitting there, or whether you have 100 people sitting there, you prepare.
Yeah.
You're still going to give, 37 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Either way. And you got to put the time in to prepare for that, regardless of how many people are sitting in the audience.
Exactly. And so my prep time during the week, I'm backing up saying, give you an idea, we're a small church. I'm the only full-time person. Like, I've got some volunteer staff people, some stipend positions that people help, fill some roles on the weekend. My executive pastor, who's also my dad, he's got a full-time job. He works. He handles some of the business side of things. He was in ministry for 20 years before we ever did this thing. And so he's really well versed in that, and has a great business mind for some of those things that are not what I'm into, the business side of that. Right. And so I've got him, and then I have a wonderful groups pastor that he's just a volunteer role who's served in churches, served in ministry, helping build community and get people in life groups and get people in living rooms hanging out with each other. Mm-hmm. But he owns a massive farming operation. The guy's 34 years old, has 6 children, and 250 acres of farmland to take care of. You know what I mean? So there are times I talk to him, what are you doing? He's like, I ain't been to bed yet. He's like, had a tractor go down, had to drive 7 hours to get a piece to fix my tractor so I could get it back out there by the morning. Just crazy stuff. That's his life.
That's his life.
So in the traditional sense of like what we think that, like, I've got a church staff, if there's 15 people on staff and we're in meetings all day long, I don't do that.
Right.
My people are working during the day. Right. So my 9 to 5 during the day, that's my time that I'll prep, and I'll spend time prepping for what I'm doing. But I'm not going to spend 40 hours a week reading the Bible. Right. If you're listening to this and you're just a better Christian than I am.
I'm better.
But for me, I'm not going to do that. And so what I have found is during the day is when I can work on it, because if I want to talk with people or talk to people about church stuff or whatever, it's much better for me to get together at dinner time with them when they're off of work. Yes. It's much better for me to call them at 5:30 when they're on the way home from work.
And that's pastoring.
And that's pastoring.
That's getting your pastor on right there.
And that's when I find that time to do it. But there's a lot of other daylight that I have to do creative things. And I've set some limits where there are certain days that it's like, all right, I'm not touching the camera today. I'm not filming anything. Right. I'm not opening Adobe Premiere. I'm not editing. Like, this is it. Then finding time, mixing in, having a baby. My wife has done an awesome job setting up a schedule for our son, and he sticks to that schedule. So I know that it's like, all right, from this time I've got a 2-hour window where that little dude sleeps hard and I can get stuff done. And so the balance is figuring out the balance is where I'm at. Is trying to figure it out. Needing gear. That's I'm past that. It's
You have what you need.
I have all I need. Like
Right.
if you're listening to this, and you shoot video, I shoot weddings on Red.
Mm-hmm.
So, Red cinema camera. I mean, I went from having I had a Sony A7R2 in November, we're getting close to a year later, and now I've got a stockpile of Canon stuff that I use for vlog style. And then when I'm doing the super cinematic, I'm shooting on Red, shooting Red RAW, and it's just beautiful, and it has a different look. Because there are some people in our area, there are several artists that are doing wedding films and that kind of stuff, but I like to disrupt the system. I like to shake it up. Like, I like to look at what we're doing and be like, how can that be better? And for me, it was like, well, I could shoot these weddings on Canon, or I could shoot them on Sony, and I've had all those cameras, or the GH5. I've had them all in the last 6 months. I've bought all those things and used it. And for me, I found if I want to take it to a different level, make it look different, I'm going to shoot it on Red. And is it really unnecessary to shoot somebody's wedding reception on a $20,000 cinema camera? Yes, it's totally
That's
ridiculous.
what I was going to ask, actually.
It is. It's overkill. But when they look back at it, I'm real big on engagement films. If you're a videographer right now and you're shooting weddings, start offering engagement films. Make it a part of your package. Spend 1 hour. Tell them it's going to be a 1 minute Instagrammable thing. Film it all in slow motion and get out there and shoot an engagement film, because a couple things happen. One, it gives you an opportunity to meet the couple, to shoot with the couple, for them to understand your style and how you're working. And
So you're building that rapport at the same time.
You're building that rapport
Yeah.
that photographers have been doing for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the videographers, we're always just the weird dudes in black standing over the side.
You are.
It's like, this is my crane. I brought a 12-foot crane.
Where should I put the crane?
Where I put the crane?
Can you move the flower girl so my crane can go there?
Yeah.
Hey, video guys, quit being so weird, too. Creeping people out coming in.
Hey, video guys. Oh, man. Yeah.
Hey, photographers, start dressing up a little bit for those weddings. Y'all look busted. God.
What do you want? What's ideal for you? Like, okay, let's skip forward 3 years. What do you want this to look like? Let's say it's all perfectly balanced and you're bringing in the right amount for your time.
Yeah.
And what is that? Because then your boy will be almost 4, right? And then things start changing for him. He's going to start going to school, preschool and stuff like that. So then those days change. What does your life look like ideally in your mind? We've been talking a lot about vision here, right? So what's your vision in the next 3 to 5 years look like?
Man, ideally for me, I'm shooting weddings. So there's some people out there that love it.
Yeah.
I do not. It's a means to an end. Like,
but what's the end, right?
The end
end
is getting known well enough to get called upon and hired to shoot video stuff that's not weddings.
Okay.
So doing enough weddings to get the exposure, because
Right.
people watch the weddings. And the wedding films I do, if I don't like them, I don't put it out. Like, and I tell couples this. I also tell the couples when I meet with them that I never shoot ugly brides or ugly couples, and that always makes them feel real good because
because then they're not ugly.
Yeah, because and I've been fortunate. They've
I
all
would
been,
like- I
they've
would
all
like
been
to hear that.
attractive. You know what I mean? Jed, I only do podcasts with really good looking men.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome for having me. Back to your question. So, if we look 3 years down the road, and it's not that I hate weddings. It's just like, do I want to be shooting 50 some weddings a year? I got a friend of mine who's a videographer in Columbus, Ohio. And I'm like, how many weddings do you have this year? And he said, more than there are Saturdays, which means he's doing Friday, Saturday, Sundays, and he's doing these crazy weddings. And it's insane to me. And he's like, I enjoy doing it. I'm like, man, I'm glad you're called to that because I don't enjoy doing it. I would much rather do commercial stuff, the political campaigns, I'd much rather do some of those other things, which are typically a lot more lucrative.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only get so much out of wedding video. And I think, where I'm at right now is, I just bought a new Fuji camera to play around with some photography stuff, even though I have nice photography cameras. Again, I bought the medium format because I want to figure out how to do photography well with that and disrupt the system as far as the photo world.
So you're transitioning even into that too.
Yeah, for me, I'm not making any money. I have nothing booked. I have no intention of making a single dollar right now off of photography. I'm doing it for my own, trying to figure out, get good at it, and then put something out there to say, yeah, I can shoot this event for you. I can cover it, and look how different this looks.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I'm at right now, because I had a meeting with a client, and and I told them my price for video, and I told them all the work I'm putting in, what I'm filming on, and they were like, "Oh, that's great, we'll do it." And they did it, and then they were talking about the photographer. They were getting worked out, and I said, "Just a question. I know this photographer well. What are they charging right now?" And the client was happy to share. And when I saw that it was $2,000 above what I was doing, I thought to myself, I was like, that's cool. They're going to show up with 2 camera bodies and a 35 and an 85 on each and make, I'm ready to go. And it's just, I have this argument with my friends who are photographers all the time. I was like, your job's a lot easier than mine, right? And they always hate that. I do it more to ruffle their feathers.
But you believe it.
But I do kind of believe it. It's like,
you do believe it.
Yeah, it's like I've got like 5 cameras shooting this ceremony right now, making sure they all stay filming and they're all in focus and they're all exposed correctly, and that everybody's audio tap that I've got wired up is working. And then when I edit it, I got to pull back and figure out how to make all that stuff line up together. And so, there's an element of it where it's just like there's just a lot more layers of things I got to be concerned with on the video.
You said overkill earlier. Is there such a thing as doing just more than you need to do to the point where it's actually detrimental to what you're doing?
I think that's it. But I'm the kind of person that I believe in redundancy. Like the moment I decide to fully rely on that red cinema camera, I'm going to roll up and that red's not going to work.
Yep.
And I better have something worthwhile in my bag that can give me something beautiful and epic. And that's where my Canon stuff comes in, where I'm backing up using some off angle things with the Canon setup, and it does a wonderful job. But and so I packed that. But I always struggle with this "if you give a mouse a cookie" mentality. The old book for kids.
Yeah, my kid.
If you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want some milk.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I'm going to bring this Canon here.
Yeah.
Well, I might as well bring every lens I own.
Because what if I need it?
What if I need it?
I might need that lens.
That one thing.
Right.
That one thing.
Something might happen that justifies it.
Packing for this trip is unbelievable. Like the amount of gear that's in there right now.
Well, you're in
my
Yosemite.
tent.
I can understand that. Like, you want to bring everything.
It's like there's that one shot.
Right.
And I need that one stupid lens to get it. So I'm going to haul this 5-pound lens all the way across the country in case that one opportunity happens. And so there's a side of that. And I am, I don't want to show up to a shoot and the client be like, "This is all you're using? This is it?" So there's.
I don't think you're in danger of that.
I'm not anywhere close to being in danger with that. And so a couple of guys yesterday saw I had the red out, and they're like, "Are you shooting a handheld with a red on vacation just for fun?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yes to all of that.
Why wouldn't I?
Right.
Like, what do you shoot? I was like, mainly stuff with my dog and my son. Just jacking with those guys. It just makes me feel good.
You could make people very frustrated if they believe you when you say that.
That's usually the goal. Try to trigger them just a little bit.
I'm picking that up.
But so we were talking about transitioning to photography. I'm not looking to transition to photography, but I know that. I know that skill. I understand it. Am I the best? No, not at all. Am I all right? Yeah, I can take some good pictures, and I can throw up lights, and I know how to do that. And and I'm spending some time with some of the photographers out here. There's a couple of guys that have been playing with my camera all morning, because they know it better than I do, and they're teaching me little things. And so, So, I'm here to grow, and part of coming to this retreat, if you will, or conference, or whatever we want to call this thing, is to get sharpened by some guys.
Now, you've mentioned a couple times, like, the picture of the back of the camera, and it was set to auto, and you've mentioned lighting a few different times with an air of maybe flippant condescension, so to speak, kind of in a joking way, right? Yeah. But you do that. I sense that you're the type of person that does that because there is some seriousness to it. Like, you think it's important to know how to do X.
I think,
right?
In
order to be at a certain level or to continue, you think it's important to continue to learn, to continue to grow, et cetera, et cetera. What about the person that says, you know what? I don't think that's true. I'm good being a quote-unquote natural light photographer. Yeah. This is where I'm at.
This is my style.
I make the money that I need to make.
Yeah.
I'm doing as good as I need to do.
Yeah.
What do you say to that person? Who maybe takes offense at your air of what they would consider condescension?
Because I asked them to examine, do you do it because you really like this light and airy overexposed look?
Yeah, bright and airy.
Is that what they call it? Bright and
but
airy.
I think there's some people that do really well doing that. Aren't there?
They do. But I want to challenge them. Okay. I want them to even disrupt their own way of doing things.
Okay.
Because like I'm shooting weddings on a red right now, but and it's not the 8K red, but I'm already asking that question. Well, what if I was using 8K? What if I stepped it up? Now, my wife's not going to let me sell a portion of our house, to buy.
You're not going to be able to take out a second mortgage for an 8K.
No, I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. We're not going to run ourselves into a ton of debt over that. But I'm constantly challenging myself to get better, and wanting to get better, and wanting to find people who know how to make me better. Mm-hmm. And so the photographer that's offended by that, the reason they'd be offended is because there's probably an element of truth to you're hashtagging yourself this because you've never taken the time to learn how to use off-camera lighting,
right?
How to really give that depth in an environment. Yeah. And that's what I like is I look at somebody, I'm like, you have the gear, you have the know-how, and you've got a list of clients, and you're booked for the next year.
Right.
There's something that you could be adding a whole layer of depth to what you're doing if you just watch some YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. And got out and played a little bit. And you don't have to go spend a ton of money. We live in the Amazon world right now, and you want to learn how to use a flash off camera, it'll cost you like $80 on Amazon to go do it. And that's not to say that there's wonderful companies that I love that make incredibly great products that I use that are not necessarily Amazon brands.
Right.
But hey, spend the $80-$100, whatever, and go learn how to do it and watch some YouTube videos, because we live in this communication age. And it's like, you want to learn how to get the shot like that? Go watch a video and see it.
It's not hard to find out how.
It's not hard to find out. At that point, I think you are doing what you're doing. You're stuck in that because it's just easy and you're raking in the cash, but you're being lazy because you could be offering something so much better.
That's a judgment, right? Mm-hmm. You're throwing out a judgment.
It is it's kind of like, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You can look at that. It's like, well, what I'm doing is making me a ton of money.
Right. I think a lot of people look at it that way. I like it. I'm enjoying it.
But I think that's where they're going to be at risk for burnout and getting stale if they're not looking to say, how do I better myself on this?
To push themselves.
How do I push myself?
Yeah, okay.
And I run into this with even some of my friends who are wedding photographers. I challenge them. I got a friend of mine who literally will she told me, she's like, I had the original 5D, the Canon 5D, and she said, I shot that camera until I was shooting one day, the mirror fell out. I was like, just click, 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 click.
800,000.
It had to, right? And she's got two 5D Mark IIIs, which, we're 2019. That's a fairly dated camera. She's got two of those right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's running around shooting, and she shoots all the stinking time.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
And she's not concerned with gear at all, And I'm over here. I'm like, hey, won't you try my mirrorless Canon? Or here, let me just let you borrow this. Or you want to look at this? And she's like, yeah, it works. It's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
I'm all right.
And, but I look at it and say, yeah, but you know what? This new camera they've got, it offers this better autofocus, and it has this, and it has this, because I'm obsessed with that data, and I want to help them say, you can take what you're doing, and it's not going to change what things look like, but it could really make things better for you, and in some regard, make it easier. You're going to have a much better autofocus system, better performance.
Right.
You would see your craft improve.
Right.
The biggest thing is I always see the potential in people. I think there are people out there that could shoot an entire wedding on their iPhone.
Right.
And it'd be light and airy and beautiful.
Right.
And you wouldn't know any better. You'd say, that's great, I'd hire them.
Yeah.
And they'd tell you, I shot it with my iPhone.
Right.
But it's because they have learned to use that tool to the best of their ability.
Sure.
And they're constantly looking for the better apps to use.
Right.
Right. I have a million video apps.
Photo apps?
Yeah, just because I love to always find something cool and different to maximize my little tiny phone here. But there are people out there who are not spending the time. Like, it's like, well, I've been shooting the same way for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why don't you look at what's out there? Because we're at this age where technology is changing so fast, and there's always these cool. New
There's
things out
probably
there.
already been 2 major changes in the last 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
It's changed, and then it's already changed again.
Yeah. And you know, and getting people, and like I said, I'm from a small town. Here's what I noticed. I'm in a small town where there are no camera stores. You got to drive 2 hours to the closest.
Yeah.
Anywhere around. And so if Best Buy don't have it or Walmart don't have it, you ain't using it. Yeah. But the problem is we're inundated with a bunch of photographers who are, you know, I call them Best Buy photographers.
Yeah.
They walk in, said, you know, which camera will let me do this? Well,
Right.
you need this and this. And
Right.
they got it, and they go home, make a Facebook page.
Right. And
And they take their first and middle name and make a photography
First and
business.
middle name, I love
First
it.
and middle name.
That's true.
What's your middle name, Jed?
R.
Jedediah R. Photography.
Just Jed R.
Jed R.
Yeah, not Jedediah. It's just Jed R.
Jed?
I didn't know that was gonna happen. I can edit this out. I don't need people to know that.
Oh, you don't talk about your name?
No, it's just that I have a weird name, and my middle name is just a letter. So
What, is it really?
it's R.
Just the letter R?
Just the letter R. Yes.
Really? It wasn't
Yeah.
short for something?
No, well, I both of my grandfather's names, one was Robert and one was Russell.
Yeah.
And when I was born, I was the first grandchild on
Yeah.
both sides of my family, and my parents
Yeah.
didn't know what to choose,
Yeah.
Robert or Russell, and they didn't want to hurt the other's feelings, so
Yeah.
they just went with R,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it. So, yeah. I didn't know I was ever going to talk about that.
No, we'll throw it in there.
Let me ask
Back-
you this, though.
No, go ahead.
Well, no, if you have something.
No, I was just saying, you know, talking harshly about, you know, people, you know, me being judgy towards people. The thing is, I love people. I care about people. I recognize people's talents. And there's a lot of people that have talent and they could really hone that craft.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not an expert in anything by any means, but I like to be well versed in things and I like to learn. Like, you know, if I'm into doing something, you know, I've got a music background and play music and have been involved in that kind of thing, you know, there are times that it's like, it's time for me to pick up an instrument. You know, a few
Yeah.
years ago, I decided I want to learn to play the banjo. So I bought a banjo.
Oh.
It didn't serve any purpose outside of I just really wanted to have that skill set. Am I a great banjo player? No. If I pulled out a banjo right now and played for you, would you think I knew what I was doing? Yeah, I'm good
Yeah.
enough, right?
Yeah.
But I'd love to get better, and I'd love
Right.
to hone that skill.
Right.
And so for people that are listening, that are photographers who are, you know, there might be something they recognize in their life that, you know, the natural light photography, that one drives me crazy.
I could tell.
Because people try to brand themselves as that, and I'm like, is this really what you love and what you're into, or is this just the cap of what you know how to do?
Yeah, sure. But it can be both.
I guess it can. And I guess looking at it, because I know people who that is their thing. You know, they're shooting all natural and they're into that.
Yes.
And I know people who brand themselves that because they don't know how to push past
I
that.
agree. There's both.
And my encouragement to that person is it's let me make this more of encouragement than criticism.
Okay.
Like, you know, watch YouTube videos. Look up how to use a flash on a bright sunny day.
Right.
How do you use reflectors on a bright sunny day?
What you're saying is for
Yeah.
the people that really have a desire to do more,
Yeah.
and are branding themselves that way because, you know, deep down they know they're limited to
Yeah.
just that, but they want more. You're saying, I hear
Yeah.
you saying that you can do more. You can do it. It's not, the hill isn't as big as it might seem
Absolutely.
to climb. Get on YouTube. Are you involved in any conventions outside of this photographically? There are a lot of different options.
No.
You're not. You stick with YouTube. Okay. Well, everyone has access to YouTube,
Yeah, it's
right?
YouTube.
It's not hard
What
to do.
do you
a little
mean? What do you
YouTube.
mean? Like skill shares and things?
Well, yeah, like there's local guilds, there's state associations, there's, you know, national associations, global associations.
I didn't know these existed.
There are. Well, you're a pastor,
I'm a pastor. I don't know
but
this stuff.
you know that there are associations for pastors.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, finding people. I mean, get on Instagram. and search photography and portrait work.
Yes, you'll find some options.
There's some beautiful stuff out there. There was I forget the handle that I found the other day, and it would show a beautiful portrait image that's just like lit up, and it's just incredible. And then you swipe to the next image, and it shows like they stepped the camera way back, so you see all the whole setup.
Right.
And then they had then the next image, they had overlays broken down of what every camera setting, what every flash setting was.
Yeah.
And so literally you could look at it and be like, the sky looks like that right now.
Right.
I've got similar gear to that. I can set those same settings and see if I can make a picture look like that.
Yes.
And that's what I've done. And that's what I'm into. Like I saw a YouTube video of a photographer on using the camera that I have over exploring in Ethiopia and shooting with like some of these Ethiopian tribes. And it's middle of the African sun, bright sunny day, and dude has got a small softbox out there, and he's doing this portrait work of some of these local tribal people, and it was like the most beautiful photographs I've ever seen. I was shown it. It was let me tell you here.
It sounds like something Joey L would do.
It's Piet van den Einde.
I've never heard of it.
It was actually one of Fujifilm Global's. It's on Fujifilm Global's channel, and so they had sent him out with a Fujifilm GFX 50R medium format, and it's like a 4-minute video, and it's kind of like this small little thing, and they had a film crew.
And everybody has access to that for nothing. I mean, the amount of resources that are available to us in our pocket is astounding.
And go look what he's producing,
right?
And it's incredible. And so my encouragement to anybody is don't allow yourself to get stuck.
There you go.
I'm constantly looking for the next thing. You asked me what I want to do in 3 or 4 years. Jed, I'm kind of this person on a spiritual side. Like I pray for signs. Like I'm like, Lord, you got to make this real clear. I need
Gideon,
you.
Gideon.
Yeah. Like very like. Yeah. Like you need to write it on the side of this wall right now. I got to see it. Like I'm not the kind of person that's like, if I see a deer on the side of the road over the next 3 miles, I know I'm supposed to leave my wife. Like this. You got people that do these real dumb decisions based off of stupid things. I'm like, I don't think that's what laying out the fleece is. If I see a deer and a goat in the same field, I know it's a sign from the Lord.
Yeah, right.
Put that in the atmosphere.
Okay.
So no, that's not what I believe. But I ask for signs, and I ask for I pray for those things. Like, hey Lord, show me open doors, but show me the closed ones too.
Yeah,
like,
I want to see the closed.
I want to know. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to go through that door.
Right.
And I've been talking about the YouTube world.
Yeah.
Because I've been watching some of these YouTube videos, and there's some great content, and there's some really terrible content.
Yes.
And there's terrible content that has a lot of views.
Yes.
And people making full-time livings off this.
Right. Right.
And I would love to do something like that. I have no idea what I would talk about. I have no idea exactly like what my content's going to be about. But I've got a desire to do it, but I don't know any YouTubers. I don't know any YouTubers, in that space. But, funny enough, this trip I met Chase Reeves, and I think Chase is going to be on here. And Chase is a full-time YouTuber, and he's got, I don't know, 5 or 6 followers on the YouTube machine.
You got a couple. Right.
I don't know how many he's up to. He's got thousands.
Yeah, he has a lot.
And he's making a full-time living doing this. And he looked at me just having a conversation. I was telling some stories and things. He's like, dude, you're supposed to be in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And he spoke that into my life. And there have been several instances in my life where there have been big decisions that have happened because people spoke that into my life. And I'm grateful that I get to have those moments. And Chase probably doesn't even realize like how much he spoke that. It's like, you just need to do it. Like you're meant to do this thing. And so that has me thinking, even now it's like, man, I'm gonna go out today and I've got my vlog camera and my Gorilla Pod and my little microphone to go shoot something. Let's do it.
Right.
And so, it's got me thinking about that. So I'm always looking for the what's next.
That's the next thing, maybe.
That's the next thing. And it's not that I want to abandon what I have been doing, but I want to expand on what I'm doing and be better as a creator.
Where can people find you right now on the internet?
I'm on the Instagram machine at Zach Daniels Films. Zach with an H. Go give me a follow and let's connect. It's not a big page. I have a personal page, just Zach_Daniels.
Okay.
And that's kind of my catch-all for social media. I'm on Facebook. But it's real funny. I get brides all the time. They're like, hey, You got a Facebook page? I was like, no. I don't feel like making one right now. I'm already kind of managing what business I have right now.
Right.
And I don't want to put myself out there. And I don't want people to be able to give me reviews.
You don't want reviews.
No. It's like, I want to be above the reviews. I'm be like,
You're above reviews.
I just want, it's like, this guy just totally sucks. Or he's great, but I don't want it to be documented anywhere.
I have a 1-star. I have one star review on my Apple. The last time I looked on the Apple podcast page,
Seriously?
there's 1-star review from, I don't know who it is, and he just said, "This is bad."
This is
It
bad.
was like after my 4th podcast, and I had
that's
14 or 15 reviews, and they're all 5-star except for this one. And he just said, "This is bad."
For those listening right now, do us a favor and smash them 5 stars. Just smash it. And just be like,
Thank you. Please do.
I
was just like, I want to talk to this guy. Like, are you just a troll that just goes? Because
me?
No. This guy that gave me the
guy.
1-star review.
Yeah.
Like, really, just trying to hurt people.
he's the same guy living in his mom's basement.
Give me a 3-star
talking
review
about,
at least.
he probably is a Yelper too.
Yeah, I bet he is.
There's a South Park sketch all about Yelp where everybody gets on Yelp and it just like destroys the town because everybody's a Yelp reviewer. Right. And so all the restaurants are bending and breaking. It's like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a Yelp reviewer.
Everyone's a critic. Right?
Everyone's a critic.
Right. Thank you for your time. Thanks for doing this. This was great. I'm looking forward to seeing your YouTube channel come out soon.
I know. I haven't even done anything with it.
You'll make it. You'll make it happen, and you'll make it happen quickly. You have that ability. At least when you started, it'll take off. I think.
I hope so. Be watching for it. I have no idea what it's going to be about.
All right. Well, maybe by the time this comes out, I'll be able to put it in the in the show notes.
That'd be fantastic.
That you have a YouTube channel.
That'd be great.
All right, brother. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks, Jed. Have a good one, bud.